Welcome to RealTalk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. This is Marc Hyde.
And Chris Fuller.
And today we are jumping back into the 7 deadly sins conversation. Apparently add that to the words that I can't say very well. So we've already done, I believe, 4 of them. So this is number 5, talking about envy. Fuller, you ready?
Let's go. You know, the last
What's up,
2
good
weeks,
sir? What?
It was me that screwed up the intro.
So I can't say nothing
So
anymore.
now it's back to you. It's
Well,
like
dude,
a game of badminton.
But you know how, like, when you get this, when you're about to start the episode and all of a sudden you're like, my throat doesn't want to, like, I got to swallow and I can't swallow. Or I have to cough and I can't cough.
Or you got like a scratch and you're like, ah.
Because I have one, because the coffee you made is real good and it's real thick. And we've been laughing really hard watching like OG TikToks. No, not OG TikToks.
Vines.
OG Vines.
Yeah.
Dude, I miss Vines.
You know, they
Most
are,
gorgeous thing I've ever seen in my life. It's a watermelon. It's not a watermelon.
It's a watermelon. It's a banana next to a banana.
Look at all damn chicken.
Yeah, anyways. Yeah, so they're good. We keep talking about one of these days we got to do like, hey, try not to laugh, watch the YouTube videos and see what we can do.
We missed,
and make it YouTube only.
That would be fun.
For all of our YouTube subscribers.
You know what we missed this year? And we always talk about it and then we forget about it until it's like, oh, it's already past Father's Day. Have like a video of us doing dad jokes and like whipping out our best dad jokes and doing like the who was it? Was it Will Ferrell? Like
Mark
Wahlberg.
Yep.
And they're doing the dad jokes and like the spit takes with all of it and like
just like
or there's I don't remember what those videos were or who did it, but they was like 2 guys. And you had to see who could last the longest.
Right.
And every time that you laughed, you had to like tap out and the other person would come in and then they would see how long they could last.
But you do points and the lowest score wins too. So it's like you can't crack a smile. You can't do anything. You just got to be like.
Can't do nothing.
Just like,
except just
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
And I'm not very good at that. I'm too funny and laughable of a person.
Maybe.
I'm laughable because you can laugh at me really easily. Right, Beth? Because that's what she's going to say. She goes, yeah. She goes, I'm the funny one. Mark's a goof. He's a dork, but I'm the funny one. Like that's best line. Like that's fair.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Scale of 1 to 10. Okay, what are we going with this?
Where do you rank in your comedy? Well, like, do you find yourself funny on a scale of 1 to 10? Where do you find yourself on that spectrum?
I would say like maybe a 2 or a 3. I got some good signature jokes that work.
I think
really
you're a little
well.
better than that.
I'm good on the mic on the fly. And I'm good texting. I'm a funny texter because I have time to think about it and go, and then change it and then do something different.
What was that?
But like, dude, when it comes to clapbacks, okay, like there's so many times, all the dang time. Let's just be honest, Beth, all the time. Or like, I'll actually make a funny, is what we call it. I'll make a funny, and then Beth just takes it and goes, and just like knocks it out of the park. I'm like, can I just have one? I made a funny joke and you topped it. Like she always tops my stinking jokes. And it's annoying.
That's why you got to do a dad joke.
Yeah, but you top those too. Actually, no, I get eye rolls on those.
Yeah, then they don't top them. See?
I don't know if I talked about this in the show or not, but I had a really proud dad moment the other week, maybe the other month. I don't know, where I don't remember which kid it was. It was probably the oldest. It was like, Dad, I'm hungry or thirsty. One of those things. And Sadie out of nowhere, while reading a book, like out of the blue, goes, drink your spit. And I'm like, I am so proud of you. Drink your spit. If you're tired, just drink your spit. You never heard that before? I got told that all the time as a kid. It's like, Mom, I'm thirsty. Mom, I'm thirsty. It's like, oh, if you're thirsty, drink your spit. I'm like,
see, I just go to the, Dad, I'm thirsty. Hi, thirsty. I'm Dad.
Well, I do that every time too. I do that every time too. But if it's like, no, but like I'm thirsty, I'm like, well, then drink your spit. And like out of nowhere, say from like a back corner of the place, you just hear, drink your spit. And I'm like, that was amazing. Wow. And then same day, someone else was like, Dad, I'm hungry. I want snack time. You hear, eat your spit. I'm like, man, okay.
I've never heard that before.
Drink your spit if you're thirsty.
No.
Well, let us know. How about this in the Facebook group? Never let us know if you've heard that before. Back me up, because I say a lot of things that apparently I think a lot of people say, but it's only like me.
Oh,
like I say Papa Squat all the time.
No, I've heard that. Papa Squat.
Yeah, I say that one a lot.
Usually you smack the seat and you go, Papa Squat.
I apparently say a lot of terminology that are sports related that my kids have no idea what I'm saying. Like we were leaving for soccer. I'm like, all right, guys, lace up. Let's go. And
lace up.
Now, a couple of them knew what I was talking about, but the ones where it's like you have to like speak so plainly that it's like annoyingly playing.
Lace up your
just like,
shoes, put your shin guards in.
Saddle up your horses.
We got a trail. That's Stephen Curtis.
There
Chapman.
you go, baby. I was wondering if you're gonna get your.
We
your
got a
artist
trail to blaze. Whoa.
But so anywho, but with the
Bingo.
dad jokes, you know, I got a couple standard classic ones. And I'm really funny on the mic in front of people because I can do really quick-witted things.
So
like on a mic, so I can hit it fast and go.
It depends on my day and how tired I am.
Yeah, like right now, I got a splitty headache. Like it actually splits my forehead. I should have taken Tylenol.
I had that last week, man. It's terrible. Well, we got to leave upstairs. So after this,
that's true. I'll get some Tylenol after that.
Grab some.
But we do need to do some funny stuff because we talk about it all the time. But right now, we're getting ready for Revive Fest because it hasn't happened yet. And you keep getting I mean, it's already passed. We didn't talk about it. But you got like swag bags. You got custom T-shirts over there.
I know. I got to start putting everything together.
You got like a whole commentary, like Bible commentary series.
The study giveaway.
You got the big new Grudem. Like that's the new updated version.
The new updated. Yeah, because I got the old school one.
A bunch of Bibbles and Christ alone, which we'll be talking about next week on the podcast, what Christ alone means and what does that look like. But we have a lot of good stuff happening for Revive Fest.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I'm having trouble even just keeping up with the album or the episode artwork because I'm just like, man, life is flying by fast.
For whatever reason, man, like the past 6 months, it's just been really hard to get focused. Is it the same for you?
No, not get focused.
I'm talking about like not with. There's so much going on in life. It's hard to stay focused on like certain aspects of the podcast. Like I used to be like 2-3 episodes written ahead and like on it. Like we'd finish recording. I'd load everything up and have it all ready to go.
Or a lot of times you and I would just have blank. We would have episode titles with no notes. Right. Just like episodes. Like here's the couple that I'm working on.
Right. Yep.
And now it's like, oh crap, it's Thursday night.
It's like, yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, no, it's not so much focusing with the podcast as it is, you know, keeping up with Lennox is really hard and trying to keep up with all the kids' schedules and its summer schedule, which means Beth is taxi cabbing the tar out of our family right now. And she's rocking it. But you know, a mixture of all that with the kids and work has been ridiculous, which has been good. It's been a good problem. It's just we can complain about how busy we are, and we got to keep the main thing the main thing. Beth and I, and I'm not sure, maybe we'll talk about this in some episode about how to fight the hustle culture a little bit. And so Beth and I are trying really hard to fight the hustle culture of like go, be involved in all these different things, and you're running from 4 different sport practices over the course of one night. Like I know families who do that. We just got a ton of kids. Like that's really what it comes down to.
Sure. Like
one little event to the zoo takes a plan. Like you don't just go to the zoo with us anymore.
Yeah, right. No, you got to plan feeding times and everything.
Plan every little detail. So, but Beth keeps up with it, and it's awesome. But you know, we got Revive Fest coming up around the corner. We have season 5. Holy cow!
Season 5.
We got to figure out to make sure we have a good launch for season 5. So we're ready for some new artwork, and I don't think we need new intro music.
No, I don't think so. I think the intro music.
And we got a lot of good topics. We got a lot of interviews that we're trying to figure out and line up. So we got some good things coming for season 5. But you know, season 5 is right around the corner. We've been growing our Facebook community. Like you guys have been crushing it. We almost got 1,000 people over there. You said we have like 1,000 on YouTube.
We're
almost.
Like 890 on YouTube subscribers. And then we got 1,400 in Instagram.
Yep, over 1,400 Instagram.
The family's growing.
The family's growing, and you guys are downloading. You guys are engaging, which is absolutely awesome. And we want to keep those conversations going on over in the Facebook group. But before we jump into the episode, before we get into all about the 7 deadly sins of envy and get back into that little series, we got to talk about what we're drinking tonight, dude, because this is something different that we haven't had on the show yet.
So this is no, we haven't had this yet. So this is the Toccoa coffee roaster again here, local to Mishawaka. But this is they make this blend especially for a little coffee shop here in town called the Heritage Meeting House. And so
I didn't make that connection. This was actually specifically made for that coffee shop.
100%.
I didn't catch that.
This is what they serve at the coffee shop.
For some reason, my brain did not connect those 2 dots.
Yeah,
okay.
So this is the Heritage Meeting House blend. This is the coffee shop's blend.
Gotcha. So when you go
it's not sold in the Toccoa store.
It's made for the coffee shop.
It's made for this specific coffee shop only.
And so it's a blend. So what are we talking here? Are we talking like mainly South American blend?
It's like a Guatemalan, Mexican, and I think Peruvian.
But we were looking at the flavor notes. It's full body and dark rose, which means stupid thick.
Yep. It's really good. It's a good slap you in the face with a cup. Good.
Which side note, can people actually? I'm not trying to sell it or anything like that. But are you? Well, I don't have any stake in the game yet. Does Toccoa? Can you purchase it online?
Yes, you can. Actually, if you go to our show notes for the past few weeks,
have you?
You're gonna see the link to Toccoa in the show notes.
People have been getting some free advertisement from the Fuller.
Yeah, you got to throw it when it's good coffee. You know.
We haven't had Bendix in a while. Bendix is another coffee that's here locally. So it's Toccoa coffee. Oh, you can get some single.
Oh yeah, single
origin.
Last week I was gonna have the Brazilian, which was the very top one. That one right there was one we were gonna drink. No, that was the last time we did the pour over that you brought.
Oh, yep.
That was in the coffee pot. So I drank that the next day, and that's really good.
It's not the most expensive coffee in the world, but it's definitely not the cheapest either.
No, it's probably about the same, right around the price range we normally buy.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty standard, $15 for 12 ounces.
Yeah. So it's good stuff, though.
Oh, they are hiring, by the way.
They are.
If you want a job, you can come hang out with us.
They have coffee subscriptions.
Ooh, kind of like our old coffee sponsor. Brew it forward. Brew it forward. Good old brew it forward. Well, man, so we got to read a couple reviews to read.
We do. And you know what? I'm going to give you a break.
If people feel like this is forced, we're tired.
We're tired. It's been a long week.
We didn't even record last week because...
No, it was so bad last week. I texted you and said, hey, I need a night just to chill.
I will say, can we just blame Sabrina and the Canadians for this fires that are killing my lungs right now?
That's what it is. It's the air quality sucks.
But to be honest with you, though, I'm feeling it.
No, yeah, it's heavy.
I'm feeling the heaviness.
The air is thick. It's
heavy
here. It's like when you get too close to a campfire and you're breathing in the smoke constantly.
That might be a little level of what it is, to be honest with you. Now that I'm thinking about it.
So yeah,
nothing to do with the fact that we're over caffeinated and we have low sleep.
Over caffeinated, underslept.
Undersloping.
Undersleeping. Undersleeping watermelon. All right, so we actually have 2 reviews I'm going to read tonight. And that was because the first review is so
We're
short.
Professionals, guys.
Wow.
Thankfully, you love us.
Real talk. All right. So the first one is from Ball Catches.
Ball Catches
with a Z. And it says, awesome, entertaining, and quality content. That's all it said.
Ball catchers. What does that mean?
Ball catchers, like back scratchers.
Yeah, but like what? What's that from?
Family Guy. Back scratches.
Well, we know Fuller watching appropriate TV.
It was on my old life, okay?
Goodness. Even though I will say I found a new show that is really competing with Madam Secretary right now. But
yeah, you and your SEAL team. Anyways, let's get to the second review because we
I just don't know how you catch multiple balls at one time.
Yeah, so this one's from Nate Deal. Which
we know Nate.
I think we sent him a swag bag or something like that. We sent him something, right?
Which Nate, it's after Revive Fest, but is Nate coming to Revive Fest?
I thought he said he was. I think he is. Anyways,
maybe. I don't know.
It says as real as it gets. 5 stars.
We try.
Looking for something to help answer those questions that you have been on your mind? Look no further. After listening to every episode, I can attest that these guys keep it real every step of the way. While they may not always agree on subjects, they keep the conversations loving and respectful. You know, there's a lot of comments that say, even though they don't agree, even though
which is that true, or is it the fact that we say that and so people just absorb it like osmosis, like they don't agree?
There's a lot of things we don't see 100%. We're like, yeah.
I will say though, the older I get, the more we agree on.
We've grown. I think we've grown. If you go back and listen to our early takes in season 1. Right to now, I think we've actually grown.
Even season 2,
we've both changed in a way where we're kind of like both meeting in the middle a little bit more. I feel like it's the grayness in our beard. I think it's wisdom.
We're getting wise. We're getting wise. What do you think, Janelle? What do you think, Beth?
When I started this podcast, I didn't have any gray hairs in my beard,
and I was just a dumb little grass fairy.
You were.
I was a dumb little grass fairy, and now I am wearing my.
Now you're a grass fairy,
but I am wearing our RTC sponsored Ambassadors Football Club. Oh, this sleeve, my bad. That one, RTC. But so the jersey that we got from, which side note, Joe and Kimberly, Missionaries to Peru, episode 40. They're starting like a men's team now, and they're sharing the gospel even more. Great. Like, dude.
I'm so excited
that sport
for
ministry is growing. So I'm representing Joe and Kimberly Ferris right now on the pod with the jersey from Ambassadors, but they're coming back in August.
Now, here in another 10 years, maybe Mark can start that same, do a sister partnership ministry here in the States doing the same thing.
10 years?
Yeah, when your kids are a little like Lennox is a
Oh,
little
gotcha.
older.
I'm like, bro, if I'm 40,
Bro.
I don't know if I'll be kicking a ball much. I mean,
Bro.
I don't even do it now because I
Bro.
got time.
Those who can't do teach, and you won't be able to do no more,
That's
so you might as well
true. And
teach.
ECA emailed me again about coaching.
Oh, yeah?
So,
Yeah, see,
but Beth said no.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You need to wait like 10 years. Let Lennox get through.
Beth and I said no. It would be way too much.
Let Lennox get through some things. Let him grow up a little bit. Let the other
Let
kids
his heart grow a little bit.
Yeah, and then you can maybe have some time as some of the
Maybe.
kids go on to start their lives. You might have a little bit more free time, maybe.
No, Beth is going to start fostering again. I have a feeling.
Probably.
We are going to start fostering again. Probably is what's going to happen. But our house is legally too full.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of
Which is funny. Like, no, it's too full to foster. You can't take any more babies off the street, but y'all can have your own. Okay, cool. We got 8. Like, that's just where we're at. But
look, bro, you know my motto: 8 and skate. 8
you
and
have
skate.
3.
I know, but you are at 8, so you better just skate on through.
That's true, man.
Now, when one falls off, you can replace and go back to 8. Just
oh, goodness.
when Ava grows up and moves out, then you can get another one and start fostering again.
That's funny. Oh, dude, at
8
dinner.
skate.
Okay, before we jump in, this is funny.
Sorry.
So at dinner time, I think I got the story right. Beth was, or not Beth. Evie was saying something like, we can't get rid of brother," and I'm like, "What do you mean you can't get rid of brother?" Like
what do
Lennox.
you think we're gonna take
And
it
I'm
back
like,
to the
wait, so
store?
who we're gonna get rid of? And I'm like, should we just get like? I was like, I said like, should we just get rid of like Elliot or something? Like, no, Elliot was fighting. He was like, no, you can't get rid of Lennox because I finally have a brother. And I'm like, well, we just get rid of you too, and then you guys are just like, you're cool. Like we just have sister. And he's like, no, don't get rid of me. Get rid of this person. And they're like fighting who they should get rid of in the house. And I'm like, this just got really bad, but I gotta leave. So have fun, Beth.
You started a fight and then booked it.
Well, it's actually really funny. Cause I walked out the store. I'm like, I'm like, we're just gonna get rid of Sadie, and just walked out of the dining room. And they were like,
dude.
what? Like it was a whole lot of fun. So I left Beth with a whole bunch of mess to clean up, probably, but they do it all in good spirit. They're watching Sonic 2 right now. So
He's like,
they're living their best
I
lives.
threw a grenade in the room and said, bye.
What height are we getting rid of?
Bye.
Bye. But either way, man. So
Watermelon.
when you leave us reviews on Apple Podcasts or ratings on Spotify, it helps us get into the ears of other listeners just like you. And we have some of you guys who have actually emailed us and said, hey, I can't leave a review because I'm on Spotify. I don't do Apple Podcasts, but I just want to let you guys know this is awesome. We get DMs like that, text messages. So we see it, we hear you. And honestly, we do this not just for you guys, but it is also nice just to know people do listen on the other side. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's cool, but
We do it for us.
I just like talking with you.
It's just a good time. Well, speaking of the conversation, man, we are jumping back into the 7 deadly sins. If you've been with us since the beginning, you know we started the 7 deadly sins in season 2. Oh, I do got them all listed, right?
That's pretty good.
It's funny though. We always talk about we're doing this.
But what's
Actually, let's see.
Oh, yeah. I want to.
Sounds dirty.
Can you explain Lussy to me?
Call a typo. But so could you imagine like if a pastor was like, all right, we're going to do this new series called this, and it's going to take us 3 years to get through, but there's only 5 messages in it. Like that's kind of what we're doing to people right now.
Well, you know, we're averaging what, about 1.25 a year?
Basically. So far, I was like, thinking there's some episodes like, okay, so what should we do? And I'm like, man, we got to finish the 7 deadly series. If we can call it a series anymore, I don't even know.
Eventually, right? Yeah,
I guess, but so we've covered 4 of the deadly 7 sins so far. In episode 81, we did pride. In episode 89, we did lust, not Lucy. I did a typo. Lust. We did lust in episode 89. In episode 132, we did gluttony. In 164, we did greed.
62.
I said 164, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's gonna be a long night, guys. I'm sorry,
bro. Can I just say
we got
it's all
this.
good, bro?
So in 162, we are doing. Actually, we did greed in 162, and now we are at 207, and we are finally getting into envy.
Almost a year later.
So if you don't know what the 7 deadly sins are, or you're not familiar with it, I got a little backdrop just to give you a quick review of where we get the 7 deadly sins. There's not really a Bible verse where this comes from, but it comes from the Bible. It comes from a lot of study, and I'll just read from our good old friends at gotquestions.org because they just do things in such a concise manner where I could probably spend 5 minutes explaining it, but they're like, I got in 30 seconds. Like,
yeah, I've got 2 paragraphs. So
yeah, it's just good. So the 7 deadly sins overarching idea is, according to Catholic theology, the 7 deadly sins are 7 vices or negative character qualities that left unchecked will result in a host of other sins and eventually kill a person's soul. The 7 deadly sins are pride, envy, gluttony, lust, anger, greed, and sloth or slothfulness. The list was first delineated by Pope Gregory the Great in the 6th century. Thomas Aquinas.
You said it, bro. You said 6.
Shut up.
You did it, bro. That's a gold star for you today. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I need my round of applause pad ready to go to give myself a pat on the back. But Thomas Aquinas later expounded on the idea. In the 14th century, Dante, which is what made it popular, wrote his epic poem Inferno, in which pictures purgatory as having 7 terraces corresponding to the 7 deadly sins. And the 7 deadly sins are also called the 7 capital sins or the 7 cardinal sins. Cardinal in this text meaning like of basic importance or extremely grave.
Not the bird.
No, not the red bird thing. The 7 deadly sins are considered to be the most basic sins that plague humanity, and the sins are most likely to beset us. Each of the 7 deadly sins eventually leads to other deadly sins. And, I've already said at the top of the episode, but even though the list of 7 deadly sins does not come from the Bible, we believe, even though it is Catholic theology, that it does a great job categorizing just the roots of various sins.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we look at the Bible, we see, it's the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. And like, those are kind of like the basic from, what was that? First Peter? I'm not sure what passage that is. We're kind of talking about, these are the 3 things by which a lot of other sins stem from: lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life. But this kind of, I would say, expounds on it and grows a little bit better into more of a context of actual, not just philosophical idea, but like actual, these are things that we actually do.
1 John.
1 John?
1 John chapter, well, no, I just exited out. I think it was chapter 2. Yeah, chapter 2.
Oh, there you go. So, but I do want to say this. So the 7 deadly sins, they are categorized by the Catholic Church of, they are 7 vices, which left unchecked will result in a host of other sins, which we agree with, and eventually kill a person's soul. Now, we're just going to flat out say, these are not the unforgivable sin. We did an episode on that back in like season 1 or season 2. We
revisit that.
Revisit. People keep bringing that up in the group about it, which I think would be a great conversation to retalk. There's a lot. Maybe we should do some call them the Revisited series.
Yeah,
like for like a month straight, we
do like
a
whole series of revisit.
Yeah, like for a solid month. How about maybe should we ask the people which ones we should revisit? I mean, obviously, would Jesus smoke weed?
You know what?
That one has to be revisited.
Let's ask it in the Facebook group. So you guys should join the Facebook group so you can ask.
There you go. Liz Miles, if you're hearing me, start that thread because that would be awesome. So, but we do want to say this. All right. So they are in fact forgivable. All these sins are forgivable. And we don't believe that these sins actually like kill your soul and send you to hell. But we do believe that, if left unchecked, these sins can literally, and all honestly, destroy your life, destroy your friendships, your marriages, your workplaces, your families, all these different things. They really could screw you up. So,
lots of damage.
So today we are talking about envy, which honestly, when you think about envy, it's like, oh, I'm envious of that. Like, like the Kim K, where it's
desire.
Like, I want to be like that.
Sure.
And we don't really have a bad connotation with envy in our culture because it's just kind of a thing that we do. It's like, oh, I just so envious of that. And like, it's kind of more of like a funny, I would say, tongue-in-cheek expression of being envy or green with envy.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, though, envy, when it takes grip and hold of your life, can actually cause a lot of havoc. So today we're going to talk about envy, but before we talk about it, I'm going to go pastor mode on you. All right, here we go. I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about.
Here we go.
Then we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to rehash and revisit what we just told you about. Classic pastor sermon right there.
I'll sit by in my little pew and listen.
Pew with your coffee. Pew, pew. Pew, pew, pew. With your coffee. So
go for it, Pastor.
So here's what we're talking about. All right. So we're going to talk about what is the definition of envy, because we first got to define it, right? We're going to ask the question of, is envy even mentioned in the Bible? And more than just as it mentioned, is envying actually a sin? And then if it is a sin, how can we combat it? All right. So, but before we even start the conversation, we go back to our roots. I got statistics.
Stats.
You ready for this?
Let's go.
This is an article which is called "Who is the Envious of Them All?" What is that based off of?
Mirror on the wall. Who is the envious of them all? You are.
Ah, dang it. End of episode. So in an article called "Who is the Envious of Them All?" research suggests that young adults are more envious than their elders. The young folks are more envious than the old people. The article talks about a research project done by UC San Diego. In this project, they wanted to see the difference between young adults, which primarily in their research, young adults or college students, and the older folk, all right, between both men and women. And though this is a quote directly from the article, and it says this: envy was a common experience in their study. More than 3/4 of all study participants reported experiencing envy in the last year, with slightly more women than men, women being 79.4% and men 74.1%. The experience declined with age, with about 80% of people older than 30. Ah, crap, that says
Finally.
Dang,
Finally we make a stat.
So about 80% of people younger than 30 reported feeling envious in the last year. By ages 50 and over, the figure went down to 69%. Because the older you get, you probably just don't give a crap. I think that's what it comes down to. So we'll include this article in the show notes because it was a fascinating read. But so according to this report, envy is something that nearly everyone deals with. And I would bet the people that said, no, I don't really deal with envy. I'm like, bro, you lying. Lie, your pants are on fire right now. So
burning pants.
But so according to this study, it at least shows that most people deal with envy, the young people and the old people. And generally, the younger you are, the more envious you are of others. So before we get into reasons of why and then how we can fight this envy that we all supposedly have, we first need to define it to set the ground rules for the conversation. All right.
All right, let's go.
So I got four different definitions of envy for you. All right. So dictionary.com defines it as a feeling of discontent or covetousness or covetousness with regards to another's advantages, success, possessions, etc.
So like wanting to be an influencer and but not just being like, oh, it'd be cool to be an influencer, but being like, oh man, I really wish I could be like that so-and-so and be that influencer and have that
and
influence.
Not just want it, but that'd be cool, but you
desire
want it
yeah,
so bad.
Right.
Which we're going to lean into that question a little bit.
Right.
Of when is it a bad thing to want something? Is it bad to just want stuff out of life, or want
like a strong desire? Like you would kill to be that person.
Yes. And so we'll get into that. So Merriam-Webster defines it slightly differently, where it says, ready? Painful or resentful awareness of an advantage enjoyed by another, joined with a desire to possess that same advantage.
Like somebody that just went to I don't know.
I'm thinking someone with like Ruth Chris.
I was going to say Notre Dame football game.
Yeah, but you can get tickets for kind of cheap.
What?
How about this? Taylor Swift tickets. Let's get real. Someone got them some T-Swizzle tickets, and you're pissed. Oh, I'm you're mad.
Easy there, big guy.
You're mad because they got some T-Swizzle tickets, and you didn't have that Capital One card, so you didn't get no tickets, and now you are like resentful of that person because they got to go see the Taylor Swift Air Tour, and you didn't. I mean, that's not me because I really don't want to go.
I'm okay with not going. You guys can have my spot.
I'm actually okay, but people are dealing with that.
Sure.
Like when they get tickets, they were so sad and mad and disappointed, and then it's there's videos all over the place. It's wild. So here's another definition. All right, we get more into the Christian world, right? So those were secular sources. This is more Christian. All right. So Baker's Evangelical Dictionary says sin of jealousy over the blessings and achievements of others. Right. So they're saying it's a sin. The sin of jealousy over the blessings and achievements of others. So blessings being things that maybe just God gave them, or things where it's like, that's just a blessing and they didn't earn it. They just got it or whatever, or achievements, especially, ready for this, the spiritual enjoyment and advance of the kingdom of Christ freely and graciously bestowed upon people.
So you mean kind of like Jonah and the city of Nineveh?
Yeah, basically. Or, to go into a little bit more, like for us, like we could get a lot of resent if we are like following podcasts that started after us and they're growing, like in, whatever, and they're just growing in leaps and bounds and getting millions of downloads and all these different things and accolades and speaking tours and books.
Cool.
Well, I'm not saying we are that way, but I'm saying that would be a very easy one for us to be,
Oh, yeah, definitely could.
Or in any regards, like someone who can just memorize scripture better, or they seem to have a better relationship with Jesus.
Somebody who could sing better.
Yeah, and so you start to harbor a little bit of resentment, a little bit of greed, a little bit of envy in your life for that. And then gotquestions.org, because we got to bring this one in because we love our friends over there. So basically all they said, I love this definition. You ready? To want what belongs to someone else. That's envy.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, that's sums it up right there.
Yep. And so when we hear those definitions, that might not really throw us for a loop where it's like, oh, you know what? They got the new iPhone. What's wrong with wanting the new iPhone? Or, all these Teslas are driving around, which, side note, Beth has turned me back into a car person again because we've been dreaming about our bucket list and retirement plans and all these things where both are like, at some point, we are driving a minivan and a Bavon. We want a cool car. And so like I'm noticing, and I used to be a car nut back in high school. And I was like, I'm noticing all the different ones where I'm like, oh, I know what that one costs. I know what that one costs. I know what that one costs. Oh, that'd be really dope to have this one. And, if that goes unchecked, I can get envious of that. But again, if we see that, we're like, oh, what's the really big deal with that? Or it's like we see someone who has like that C-suite job and we're like, man, I really want that. Like I wanted that. I was shooting for that. I'm still going to go after them and go get it. Or someone with a large YouTube following, because being, like you said, an influencer, a big thing right now, or someone.
That's the big thing that happens worldwide right now is people want to be influencers, or they want to be, I want to make the 7 figures on doing TikTok videos or whatever,
or even out as simple as like, you just want to win the employee of the month award because you've been grinding at work. So you want that promotion, you want that raise. Is it a bad thing to actually be envious of those things? And we'll talk about that.
So envious could be, jealousy would be a good name for it, or old King Jimmy, covetous.
Mm-hmm.
Covetous would be another good word for it. So but envy, really passionately desiring something that doesn't belong to you or that somebody else has.
Yep. And I think that's where we got to double down on the definition. And the Bible will talk more about it but about what envy is. And if we, just settle the definition of like, oh, it'd be really cool to have those things. That's not envy. Envy is, as a definition, it's the fact of feeling discontent or covetous. It's a painful or resentful awareness.
Right.
It's jealousy over blessings and achievements. It's to want what belongs to someone else, to the point where you will do anything in your power to get to that spot. And, the question then is the fact of, well, what is the effects of envy? Like, is it really that bad if you really want something so bad that you'll do anything to get it? And I have a quote from good old Basile of Caesarea from the 4th century, going back to church history a little bit here. And so this is wild. I mean, think about it. 4th century, that would be, is that the
300 something? 300.
Yeah. And the year's 300. So we're talking like a handful of generations after Jesus, right? And he said this. He says, envy does minimal harm to others, but the primary and inerrant evil to the one who possesses it, being envy. For whose suffering from this distress has ever diminished the good of his neighbor? For whose suffering from this distress has ever diminished the goods of his neighbor, but he has consumed himself, wasting away in his distress. And so when you lean into what that definition with from Basile of Caesarea, or Basil of Caesarea,
or Basil, a Baker Street,
Basiltov. and so basically what he's saying is the fact of, if you are so consumed with envy where you're doing everything you can, you literally are setting yourself up to not have joy in your life, or happiness, or contentment, or just honestly just enjoying what you have right now, because you're always so focused on what you don't have that you forget what you do have, so that you literally, as it says, you're so consumed with himself, or he says he is so consumed with himself, wasting away.
Right. And
he just dissolves into nothing. And so when we think about this term being green with envy and envy, and how much it can really destroy your life, if we look at what the Bible has to say about what envy is and why is it such a bad thing and why does it destroy our lives, the Bible actually has a whole lot to say about this topic.
Let's hear it.
All right. So legit, man, I got like sermon notes over here.
Go.
So what does the Bible say about envy? First, envy is a work of the flesh.
Ooh, and what are we supposed to do with the flesh?
Kill it.
Yeah.
Kill it. Like legit, nail it to the stinking cross. Kill it. And so the envy is a work of the flesh. So in 3 different passages, one in Galatians 5:19-21, which is what we were referencing to, is the acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambitions, dissensions, factions, and envy. Drunkenness, orgies, and the like. I warn you, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God. And this is around that same passage of what the fruit of the Spirit are, and how you should be killing the envy, because it's a work of the flesh. So also in Romans 1:28-32, it says this: and because they did not think it was worthwhile to acknowledge God, God delivered them over to their corrupt minds, so that they do what is not right. They are filled with all unrighteousness, evil, greed, and wickedness. They are full of envy, murder, quarrels, deceit, and malice. They are gossips, slanderers, God haters, arrogant, proud, boastfuls, inventors of evil, which I think is a very wild phrase there. Inventors of evil.
Well, yeah, like killing babies. Inventors of evil.
No, I was thinking more of like I was thinking creation of like, of the transgender movement with that one, or just anything with the fact of, they're not pedophiles. It's whatever that new thing is. Yeah, it's just it's what your orientation is bent toward. It's like, no, that's gross. It's awful. Inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, senseless, untrustworthy, unloving, and unmerciful. Although they know God's just sentence, that those who practice such things deserve to die. They not only do them, but they also applaud others who practice them.
So you mean kind of like some of these movements that are going on right now?
Well, I mean, the one thing, though, it says, although they know God's just sentence, that such practice deserves that. I think that's a very harsh word that churches need to heed. Churches that are very, and not just, gay affirming, but any topic when it comes to, like being pro-choice with abortions inside of the church, when it comes to money laundering, when it comes to being trying to be this big bad,
when it becomes,
give your tithe like this, like I challenge you to do this, give me your money, we'll give you
when
blessings.
It becomes like okay, and you're affirming somebody that's in a unwed relationship with each other.
Yep.
Oh, that's
living together, sleeping with each other.
Yep.
Or just being completely dishonest in other different regards, or
just angry,
or abusive.
I think Mark Driscoll, right?
Yep, angry.
Like he knows the punishment, but like the anger, the spitefulness, all these things. He was just slandering.
But either way, we do find, though, that they are full of envy. Right. So this is a description of people who are unrighteous, evil, greedy, and wicked. They're full of envy because it's a work of the flesh. And last one is 1 Peter 2:1-3. It says, therefore, rid yourself. Here you go. Rid yourself of all malice, all deceit, hypocrisy, envy, and all slander. Like newborn infants desire the pure milk of the word, so that by it you may grow up into your salvation, if you have tasted that the Lord is good. So right off the bat, we see that envy is a work of the Spirit. But we also see that envy is closely related to coveting, which is also a work of the flesh. So you see this in the 10th commandment, right? Like literally the 10th commandment in Exodus 20:17, it says, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You should not covet your neighbor's wife. Try not to make a joke. And his male servant or his female servant or his ox or his donkey or anything else that is your neighbor's. You shall not covet it, because coveting is wanting something so bad that you'll do anything for it. And that's the same of what envy does as well. So envy is closely related to coveting, which is also a work of the flesh, and you should not do it. Another one is envy actually causes people to make very poor choices. I'm not going to read this whole passage from Joshua 7 with Achan after the defeat of Jericho, where he saw all these different things and he just wanted, so he took all of it for himself, and he ended up knowing, and this is the thing too, guys, is
hidden under his tent or something like that.
It wasn't bad for him to do this, except for the fact that God said exactly what he wanted people to do.
Destroy.
Because in the next one, weren't they able to, I'm just going to use this word, pillage, like the goods? Wasn't that the next city?
Yeah,
that they did. But
this one, I think, because
but God flat out said that you are supposed to do this. And the other thing too is we see here into the mind and the heart of Achan, where he said to Joshua, "It is true, I have sinned against the Lord." So he saw the goodness and the gold and the money value and the beautiful things of the city of the city of Jericho. That's where they lost the city of Ai. And he took it for himself as a possession. He knew it was the wrong thing to do, so he dug a hole under his tent and buried it underneath there. And it ended up costing him his life. Now, that's not to say that
not just him, his family
his
too.
Entire family.
Yep. Which
is, when you think about it, pretty wild. Now, I will say that just because you have envy, that doesn't always mean that people are going to stone you and your family. Like, that's not what we're trying to say. But what we're trying to say here is the fact of he wanted something. God said, do this. He wanted the opposite. So he went directly against God and did exactly the opposite of what God said.
Right.
And we know what God says and what he expects of us in his word. And sometimes we'll not do the things that God tells us to do because we're so envious. Like, we're called to take care of the widows and the orphans in their distress. But if we go, nah, man, I'm really liking it. I want that new F-250 over there. So I'm not going to give my money to
the dually.
I'm not going to give my money. I'm not going to give my time, because I'm just going to do this to get what I want to get. Even God says, why are you storing up for yourself treasures on earth when you're supposed to store for yourself treasures in heaven? Like, there could be some practical application there. But with Achan specifically, after the defeat of Jericho, envy caused him to go directly against God. Also, Cain, the older brother of Abel, legit killed Abel out of envy, because God looked with favor on the younger brother's sacrifice, but did not accept Cain's sacrifice in Genesis chapter 4. Again, Old Testament, Esau envied his brother Jacob because of the blessing his father Isaac had given to him. Rachel envied her sister because Leah gave birth to Jacob's son while Rachel remained childless. Saul envied David for his success in battle and popularity among the people. Saul's killed, Saul's
Thousands,
killed
and
David kills his 10,000.
Tens of thousands.
And he wanted to kill David because of it. And then, ready for this? The Jewish leaders had arrested Jesus because they were literally seized with envy because they were losing their power and their control. So when you see all these different accounts in the Old Testament and even some in the New Testament as well, you see envy makes people do the exact opposite of what they know that they ought to do, right? And so when we apply that into our lives a little bit, we can take what we read. We're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. Study church history a little bit. Study your Israel history a little bit to see that envy caused these people to literally do the complete opposite of what they knew what God wanted them to do. And what happened to most of these people? Their lives were destroyed because of it. Now, Esau and Jacob were able to make up. And it says, Rachel envied her sister because Leah gave birth. I think we could also add in there, and I don't know why I didn't, but Leah also envied Rachel
because it was Abraham's favorite.
Right? I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Jacob's favorite. Isaac's favorite. Wow, we're really good with our Old Testament
Jacob's
stuff.
favorite.
Jacob, right? Because Isaac was Jacob and Esau, and then Jacob's wives were Leah and Rachel. And literally, remember what Leah? What was the baby that Leah had, and she named her? I keep saying Leah, isn't it Leah?
Leah
and Rachel. Well, yes, Reuben, but she named one of her kids like a really bad name because out of sorrow. It's something about sorrow.
I thought it was Reuben, though.
Like she kept popping out these babies for stupid Jacob, and then he kept, rejecting her, and I must have more babies and more babies and more babies, and just keep popping. But it never got Jacob's attention because he loved Rachel. And so when you look at some of these Old Testament people, envy literally can destroy your life, and it causes people to make poor choices that they end up regretting potentially the rest of their life. While you're looking that up too, one last thing that envy also can do to us is envy can take away your joy in life. Proverbs 14:30 says, "A tranquil heart is life to the body, but jealousy is rottenness to the bones." And what does rotten do? Like what happens when something's rot? Like when something rots, it decays, it falls apart, it just disintegrates. Like you think, I've been watching a lot of Good Bones. I love me some Good Bones on HGTV because right here in Indiana, down in Indianapolis. So I'm like, I know where that's at. It's a whole lot of fun. So I've been watching that with the kids because they enjoy it too. But they go into these houses and literally there's so much rotten wood that they're dealing with. There's floors that are sagging. The roof lines are caving in because it's rotting from the inside out. And if envy doesn't go unchecked, we can be like these houses that just rot from the inside out to the point that eventually you become like, what's that, an old cantankerous person that no one wants to be around, and you're just always grumpy.
A crotchety old person.
That's what I'm looking for, a crotchety old person, or just someone who I don't really want to be around that person because they just complain all the time. They want all these different things. And they're just grouchy. Yeah. And so if that takes away your joy and you're showcasing people that you have no joy in life, that could separate you from other people. It makes you make really poor choices that can end up screwing up your entire life. And even at the end of that, it's something that we are able, though, to put away because it says that we need to stop it. We need to kill it. We need to put it to the cross and nail it because it is a work of the flesh. So when we look at what the Bible has to say about envy, it says a lot of stuff about the fact of, and the funny thing about envy is, I will say this, envy, yes, may not affect other people, but as we can see from the Old Testament people and our own personal life experiences, people's envy can end up destroying and hurting other people's life too. Like Cain killed Abel. Rachel and Leah never had a great relationship. Jacob and Esau were separated even though they were twins. I mean, think about twins. Like twins are normally inseparable. Envy split them right down the pike. Saul and David, they were split. Joshua and Achan, or Achan and his wife, like the serious situation that happened there. So yes, it can affect other people, but when we think about what envy actually does, is it, according to the Bible, it kind of plants a seed in your heart of just being uncontent and discontent with what you have and always wanting more and always chasing the dream and hustling harder and going bigger. And sometimes to get those promotions and to get what we want out of life, we have to sacrifice things on the altar of our envy. Like I have friends who have lost their marriages and their families because of a business goal that they're trying to reach. They're so focused on money and just making, literally making I mean, that
the next dollar.
They make millions. Don't get me wrong, but they sacrifice their family on the altar of that. You see other people who sacrifice friendships because it just sows discord among people. You see churches that literally church members hate each other. Basically, they know they're members of the same church because of being envious about certain things. So when envy places its hold in that jealousy and that covetousness places a hold on our heart, it actually starts to rot us out from the inside out. So before we move on, any thoughts you got, big guy?
No, man, I'm just enjoying the ride.
All right, man. So here's the question, okay? So I think we're all in agreement. I hope we're all in agreement that envy is not good. Envy is bad. It really is one of the 7 deadly sins because it can affect your relationship with others, but it also can destroy you. So the question that I have for us to talk about today is simply this. What can we do to combat envy? I have a whole lot of scripture passages here.
Sure.
But so here's my question. Do you want me to read the scripture passages?
Yeah. No, let's read your scriptures and then let's get into it.
Okay, get some questions. Okay, here we go. So how do we combat envy according to the Bible? All right. So 1 Corinthians 13:4, the good old love chapter, it says this: love suffers long and is kind. Love doesn't envy. Love does not parade itself. Love is not puffed up. 1 Peter 2:1 says, rid yourself of all malice and all deceit, hypocrisy, envy, and slander of every kind. Rid yourself of it. James 3:14 through 18 says, repent of it and call it like it is. Here you go. Who among you is wise and understanding? By his good conduct, he should show that his works are done in gentleness that comes from wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and selfish ambition in your heart, don't boast and deny the truth. I love how it says, don't boast and deny the truth. Don't lie about it. Such wisdom does not come down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. For where there is envy and selfish ambition, there is disorder and every evil practice. But wisdom from above is first pure, then peace-loving, gentle, compliant, full of mercy and good fruits, unwavering, without pretense. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who cultivate it. Hebrews 13:5 says, let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have. For he himself has also said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Colossians 3:12 through 15 says, therefore, as God's chosen ones, holy and dearly loved, put on compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, bearing with one another and forgiving another if anyone has a grievance against you. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you are also to forgive. Above all, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity, and let the peace of Christ, to which you are called, or which you are also called in one body, rule your hearts and be thankful. Matthew 6:25 through 34 says, therefore I tell you, don't worry about this life, what you will eat or what you'll drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Isn't life more than food and body more than just for clothing? Consider the birds of the sky. They don't sow or reap or gather in barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Aren't you worth more than they? Can any of you add one moment to his lifespan by worrying? And why do you worry about clothes? Observe how the wildflowers of the field grow. They don't labor, spin thread. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all of his splendor was adored like one of these flowers. If that's how God clothes the grass of the fields, which is here today and then thrown in the furnace tomorrow, won't he do so much more for you, you of little faith? So don't worry saying, oh, what will we eat, or what will we drink, or what will we wear? For the Gentiles eagerly seek all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be provided for you. Therefore, don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has troubles of its own. And then last, Galatians 5, when we talk about where envy comes from, when we first we read up in this whole thing was Galatians 5:19 through 21. Galatians 5:22 through 25 follows that up with this. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such there is no law. And those who are Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and its desires. And if we live by the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. So, Fuller, when we read all these passages, that was like 7 passages, man. And my vision was going blurry there, reading so much off my iPad. But when we have all these passages, and someone's like, okay, so Mark, Fuller, you know what, man, I am dealing with envy in my life. I see what other people have, and I want them. I see the privileges other people have, and I desire that. I see the houses they have, I see the clothes they wear, the cars they drive, the phones they have, the technology that they have, the reputation and the accolades and the awards and the notoriety that these people have. How do I combat that? Because let's be honest, envy kind of creeps up, and it's a natural, sometimes guttural reaction we have to sometimes when we see these things. So after reading all these passages plus personal experience, how do we combat envy in our lives? And I'm going to stop talking because my throat hurts.
Well, I would say that first you have to ask yourself why you desire these things and be honest with yourself, right? Because anybody can go, I really want to be a basketball star like LeBron James, because with all that money, I could do a lot of good things, like give money to the poor. But is that the real reason why you'd want to do it? Or would it be for the fame?
I mean, there is that reality of like, if you're not, giving to the poor now, what makes you think you're going to give to the poor when you got billions?
Well, so it goes back to I think of the parable with the talents, right? If God gives you a little and you don't do anything with that little of talents, why would he give you more talents when you're
faithful and little, faithful and much type
exactly.
situation?
So, the first thing I would do is, if you are struggling with that, ask yourself the question, why? And then from there, depending on what your answer is with that, I think it leads into a few other things of, is this for me or is this for furthering the kingdom? And if it's for furthering the kingdom, does it have to be done in this way? These are the questions. If it's for me, then I would say, all right, why do I desire it? If it's for me, why do I desire it?
Okay.
And is there a deeper underlying root under the envy, right? Is it a pride thing? Is it hey, I want the pat on the back, I want the recognition? Is it, so what is it? What's
and
driving
I will say,
it?
Much I love the Enneagram. I mean, some people don't love it. I lost my word, but kind of like that's one thing I do enjoy about the Enneagram. I won't go into it too much, but when you learn what makes you, what the motivating factors are behind your actions, sometimes that can show up, because all of us have different motivating factors in some regards. Like for me, I like notoriety, I like the spotlight, I like the pat on the back, but I know some people don't give a rip about that.
Sure.
And so I know, like for me, when it comes to envy, I can get stage presence envy. Like I remember back in high school, man, I never expected to get what we call the Blue Gold Award, which is basically like the Cougar Award, or the top Escalon Award in the sports program. I didn't expect to get that in basketball, but I remember, man, senior year soccer, I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tear over 4 years. We were a lockdown defense. We were fantastic. I led my crew, multiple state championships, multiple all states, all these different things. And at the end of the ceremony, I knew I had a shot to win the Blue Gold Award, but I wasn't sure if I was going to get it or not. But, the coach said, we would have not have won all these games that we did if it was not for this player and he wins the Blue Gold Award. It was our offensive striker, one of the best soccer high school players I've ever seen. But that hurt, because I'm like, what are you saying about me then? So are you saying that because I was on the team, y'all didn't need me? Like I wanted that award to literally prove to myself that I was good enough, that I was better than all these fools, that you could not have won without me. Sure, we needed to score goals to win, but if we let all these other people score goals, what do you think is going to happen? And I sure I was not a great soccer player, but I led my defense to be a good defense.
Sure.
And I had to deal with an envy. I'm talking years, bro. I dealt with it senior trip, man. I had a lot of good conversations with Tanner about that, because I remember one of the workshops was talking about envy and how it can destroy your life, especially if you're dealing with unresolved envy and tension in your own heart. And then when you graduate, and sometimes I've barely seen any of my graduating class. We were only 16. I think I've seen a couple of them since graduating high school. Here or there. It's like if me and the other kid didn't actually have this conversation, rectify a little bit, I could still be carrying that forever, because I'd never see him again. And I don't harbor that in my heart anymore. It's still kind of like, man, it would have been really dope to get that. But really, what was the point?
So
except my own pride,
Well, so I was going to say, what's the underlying thing for envy, right?
It goes back to pride.
Why does it not destroy the other person, but it destroys the person who's having the envy? Because there's an underlying issue, right?
Right. And kind of like bitterness, where, bitterness only destroys you, and the other person lives on their life doing whatever they want to do.
And don't even know about it most of the time. So it comes back to, there's a problem within me, right? There's a sin that I'm holding on to more than likely. When I'm being envious, that is a sin, as we just saw. but there's an underlying sin issue, right? And listen, we've all got sin. It's not something that I'm going to be like, oh, well, you've got this, you envy, shame on you, or you've got the underlying issue that I always lead back to with most people that are envious. Most people have a pride thing, right? I want to drive that fancy car because people look at me, and it's all about the me attitude.
Yep.
I call it the me too movement. So, toot like toot your own horn. Toot, me too. But it comes back to, like, in that instance, that story you just shared with us, I would say, okay, so why were you so bothered by it? And you already said it. You said pride. I was prideful about it. And so that's what I'm talking about.
And I mean, I'm also one of those guys where I live for the confirmation,
Sure.
The fact of you. And this is one thing that I know I got to keep in focus too about with being a Christian is at the end of the day. I remember one person commented on something that I posted in the Facebook group that was super cool, is the fact of, you might not get a reward right now, but you're going to get it one day when you hear the words, well done, good and faithful servant. Because that's what I wanted to hear. I want to hear, you crushed it this season. We could not have done it without you. Thank you.
You want the same thing that I've grown up all my life wanting, and that's affirmation.
Affirmation. Yep. And that's the thing. Words of affirmation are huge for me.
So we had two different reasons why, right? Your reason why was probably you didn't get a lot of affirmation from your dad before he passed away.
Last time he was dead.
So for me, my dad was abusive, and I never got that affirmation. So we both have father lacking affirmation because of different reasons, but the same problem that still exists is we desire that affirmation from people, men, especially wiser men. And so it's like, hey, we're fighting towards that. We want that pat on the back, that affirmation saying, hey, you guys did a good job.
I want the attaboy.
Yeah. And so it's something that, for me, the more I think about it, and I constantly have to keep it in the forethought of my mind to keep myself from trying to become prideful or envious or these types of things. It's something that I have to battle on a daily basis to be like, nope, I need to recognize that right now I'm having this thought or wanting to do this thing because I'm wanting the affirmation to get a little pride pat on the back here. And I don't need to do it for that reason, because that's not the right reason to do that thing, whatever, XYZ.
So I guess, and this is a couple of questions that I wrote down just because I'm curious about it too. And it's something I would love for us to flesh out a little bit, but is wanting a better life a bad thing? Like I listen to a lot of Dave Ramsey and they talk about people who are trying to get out of debt. Let's get debt free. Which, side note, did you see that the Supreme Court slammed down Biden's bill about loan forgiveness?
Thank goodness.
And I know there's a lot of people who are like, man, that's going to hurt because now I got to figure this out. And, listen to Dave Ramsey, get on a budget. Let's go. But,
envelope method,
seriously. But, the fact of, is it a bad thing to want a better life for your wife, for your kids? Is it bad to want these things? Like even in the SEAL team movie, the guy's trying to figure out, okay, he wants to not get out, but he has two different career paths. One is more on the field. One is more behind a desk, but this one pays better. And he goes, I can give my wife not this glamorous multi-million. He's still in the military. He's not gonna make it that much, but he goes, I can finally give my wife the house that she's always wanted and has sacrificed for our family for. I can finally give my kids the education that they want. I can finally do this. And, people who come out of very rough, impoverished backgrounds, we love those stories of the people who hit the pavement, they grinded, they did what they got to do. They're trying to set up their family for the next generation of success, which Proverbs talks about that. They say, if you don't leave anything to your kids, shame on you.
And then how do you reckon that with don't store up your treasures here on earth, store up your treasures in heaven? So there's a line, right?
Like, how do we balance is it bad to want a better life? And not just in such a way where it's like, I want to live that life. I want to live that influencer lifestyle. I want to live that New York downtown. I want to make it. I want to be grinding in San Francisco. I want to be doing this in the big cities. So I want to make it.
So I would say it all depends on your motivation, right? It comes back to the heart. It's the same thing Christ preached during his earthly ministry, right? It's always about the heart. And this is where it gets back. Is it wrong to be, rather than saying a better life, I would say a good steward, right? Okay. With what you're given. Is it bad to want to be a good steward so you can be given more responsibility to be a good steward, right? I don't think it's bad with that context in mind of, hey, it's not for, I want more for me or for what I think is best for my family.
And
but
even
I
going
want
back
it
to
for
that,
whatever God would have me.
and for that talents, going back to what you said,
Mhm.
you know, the managers were not slammed for doubling what they had. You know what I mean? It's
No.
the fact they were blessed because they were like, I gave you this, you doubled it. Y'all, good for you. And the person that
Right.
buried it, where it's like, I knew you were a scary dictator. Not dictator. I knew you were a harsh judge, and I didn't want to lose it. So here you go.
Right. So they
kept safe.
They buried it because of fear and because they didn't want to lose it. Right.
Mhm.
So I think there's a balance here. I think that wanting to do good, wanting to have more comes with a caveat, right?
Mhm.
Of why do you want more and what are you going to do with the more? That would be the caveat questions I would ask. Because in all things, whether you got $1 to your name or $1 trillion to your name, we're called to be good stewards, and we're supposed to be doing certain things with these gifts that God has given us. Because really, ultimately, God owns it. It's God's money.
Mhm.
It's God's house. It's God's family.
Right. We're just managing what we got.
Even down to our families, our wife and our kids. Right. Those are gifts from God. Those are God's that we are just stewards over. Right. And so we have to be good stewards, which is why I think that no, we shouldn't just be like, screw it, I'll go and do whatever. You know, I won't work. I'll just sit here and not do anything. And
well, it's like that Aesop fable of the guy who like went out and did everything for everybody else,
right.
But then he came back home and everything was just in disarray.
I think of like Billy Sunday, right? Billy Sunday was out preaching on the circuit all the time and never took care of his own family at home. So he's out preaching the message of God to everybody, except for he's not being the priest of his own home,
right? And I think
and ministering to his own
like
kids.
Charles Wesley or John Wesley, like their wives were like super bitter because of it. But then you also have people who are like Spurgeon, whose wife, my Beth and I were just talking about it. She was an invalid for a while because of the crazy, complicated medical complications. They still had 2 kids, but he loved the tar out of his wife.
Right. And still,
but he still had an amazing ministry, just as more powerful than some of these other guys.
And that's why it's hard to throw a blanket statement of like, you can't go anywhere, you can't run the circuit. It all depends on each individual scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are involved. And, somebody like Beth maybe wouldn't need you to be there every night home for dinner. You go out and preach a circuit. But for somebody like me, maybe Janelle would need me home every night in that relationship context. So for me and for you as a husband, our ministry in that area may look different. And I'm not saying that's true at all for either side.
No, but there are different bandwidths for different people.
This is where we have to be good stewards of what God has given us in our family. We have to understand that. We have to understand our wives. We have to understand our kids' needs. We need to understand these needs and what do they need. And we have to say, all right, God, ultimately, like you read here in Matthew 6, right? He's the provider. Why worry about tomorrow when he's the provider? He gives us the better life. He gives us the gifts, and he gives us the things that we need.
Right. And I think there's a difference, though, between being wise with our finances and being wise with our possessions, because, the guys with the talents, they had to do the work. No. 5 talents don't become 10 by not grinding.
And I don't see anywhere in Matthew 6 where he says, sit around not doing
what I'm saying is the fact of, this was talking about coming off of the heels of the passage of, or was it coming out afterward? I think afterwards was the next passage, where the fact of, the guy, he had a massive barn and he filled it with just stuff. And he had so much stuff that he built a second barn and filled that even more with stuff. And so I think the idea has to do with is we can't put all of our own merit and weight on our finances, because you never know what's going to happen.
Sure.
Money is volatile. You never know what's going to happen. But it's more the fact of, what are you actively pursuing and going after at all costs? Only because you're envy of popularity, you're envy of culture, you're envy of fame, you're envy of things. Like, to be honest with you, I struggle with this in some regards. The more, I used to live off of a pastor salary, which was jack crap. And now, I got adult monies. I can do more things. And it's like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, if I really, we're not going to, but if I really wanted a Tesla to look cool to everybody, we could somehow figure out how to afford that. If we really wanted to, we could afford the bigger house. And I'm not actually, no, we really couldn't. But like, if I wanted to, I could grind so hard to get that $500,000, $1 million mansion, to get the cars, to get the equipment, to get the technology, to do all these different things. But if it was just for my own personal pride and envy of what other people have, I can be forgetting what we already have. And, the Bible talks about, we read it with the fact of one of the biggest, I would say, one of the biggest ways we can battle envy is learning how to be content with what we have. And honestly, I think social media shoots us in the foot so much more with that. And I'll be honest with you guys, if you guys are listening, if you guys do struggle with people with envy on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, you can delete the app. That's okay. You can delete it, because why would you ruin your own personal life, your own personal satisfaction, your own personal contentment with what God has blessed you with as steward over, just for the fact of, no, I don't want to get rid of it because everybody's on TikTok. Everybody's on Instagram.
If you're an alcoholic, don't keep buying the beer,
or don't even keep walking into the bar. Like if you're, and that's rule number one is,
right.
If you are in, AA and you're trying to stop being an alcoholic, rule one is don't go to the bar and order a Coke.
Right. Yeah. That's, what
I mean?
You're already tempting. It's funny. Chris Kripe, you know who Chris Kripe is.
Love me some Chris Kripe.
So he's one of the elders at our church, and he's been preaching through Romans right now, which has been phenomenal. But he said, look, he goes, when you're resisting sin and the temptation of sin, he's like, I look at it like a piece of chocolate cake, right? It's like if that chocolate cake's over there and everybody's like, oh, that's chocolate cake. Oh, hey, looks like some writing on there. And they walk a little closer, go, well, maybe it says happy. Oh, let me get a little closer. It's like, oh, happy birthday. No, wait, maybe it says congrats. Well, let me get a little closer, Congratulations. Oh, that smells good, that chocolate cake. And then you take a slice of chocolate cake and you're like, oh yeah, that's a good. Oh, look at how pretty that is on my plate. Oh, look, I'm just going to smell it. Oh yeah. Oh, and then you taste it and you've already sinned, right?
And you're playing games.
He goes, the time to resist the temptation of the chocolate cake is when you first turn over and you go chocolate cake, and then go, nope. And you walk away.
We're not saying say no to chocolate cake.
No, I'm not saying that, but it was a good analogy of, that's the thing, right? Is if you struggle with something, the best time to resist it is at the very onset. Right? So if you
resist it at any point. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, just screw it. We're already sinning, so whatever. It's kind of like, Apostle Paul, when he says, should I keep sinning so like grace may abound? Kind of
God forbid, right?
And we talk with people where they're like, man, I've already crossed lines. Me and my girlfriend, we've already slept together. I mean, we don't want to. And we're like, get out of the situation. Yeah. Stop living with the person. If like we've had these conversations with people. Like, this is real life stuff of, oh, we're trying, but it's so hard just to stay pure. And I'm like, yeah, because you tasted the heavenly gift, and now it's real hard because you keep putting yourself into stupid situations to do this.
But you have to stop.
Yeah.
Have to stop. It's funny that you brought up that.
Go full stop, man.
That you brought up that scripture that, should we continue to sin that grace may abound? And it says in some passages, God forbid, or absolutely not. And Chris Kripe said something about that too. He said, where did he get it from? I don't remember if he got it from the Urban Dictionary or he got it from something. I don't know, a commentary. He got it from somewhere.
Say full stop.
But no, it says, he goes, the correct translation of this is basically, stop right now, you big stupid baby. That's basically what Paul's saying. And I'm like, I died laughing. And that's really true, right? If you're in that sexual sin, stop now, you big stupid baby. Quit crying about it. Just stop it. Just stop. Just stop, you big stupid baby. It was great. It was the best thing ever.
All right. So to get back into specifically dealing with envy, right?
Sure.
And so what can we do to battle envy? To start putting some practical application to this conversation. In one regards, I think what we're really trying to say is the fact of, don't put yourself into a place that's going to cause you to be envious. Mm-hmm. Now, you can't always control everything. Like, you can't just walk out of your house and be like, I ain't going to look at nobody, because if I look at a single F-150 or an Audi or a this or that, you're going to go to the
Amish community. That's what they've done.
Even between my house and your house, I got to drive through some really baller neighborhoods. Like, even though it's just right around the corner, like, you keep going north a little bit.
Oh, I know.
Granger, like, there's some nice houses over there. Like, there's some real nice barn dominions being built right north of us.
I look at them and I go, man, that's an expensive house.
I know. dude, I was like, man, my first house was $700 a month mortgage. Yeah. And I want that again.
Mine was $562 and I loved it. I was like, oh, this is the best.
I missed my old mortgage. Yep. And I bring it up and Beth always just says, that was a lot of kids ago. So we can't fit.
That was a couple inflations ago too.
It's true. Anyways. It's true. We cashed in on it. But so it's the fact of, you can't just stop living. You can't just go Amish and pull yourself out of that environment.
Still got to be in the world.
You gotta know where you gotta know where your vulnerabilities are at. You gotta understand yourself and your sin to know enough where it's like, I get tempted when this happens, so I won't do this when I'm like this. You know,
Right.
and so if you're one of those like late night doom scrollers on Instagram, and that's where you really struggle, whether it's with porn, whether it's with this topic with envy, you can make the choice to not do that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that is an active choice for you not to do that. It's an active choice
100%.
where you can delete or just unfollow these people on social media. You can choose to not put yourself into certain positions where you're constantly envious of other people. But then on the flip side, on the spirit, so I mean, it does say in 1 Peter 2, rid yourself, like choose to stop being, like you can choose to stop.
Stop now, you
But
big stupid baby.
there is the reality of, you know, once we learn to be content with what we have and we learn to be thankful for what we have, I think that's where that transition comes in. Because, you know, at the end of Colossians 3, where it talks about put on compassion, put on kindness, put on humility, gentleness, patience, bear with one another, forgive one another. It's saying stop doing this, but instead put on all these different things. But at the end, what does it say? Be thankful. And the more thankful you are for what you have, the sooner you will leave wanting what everyone else has that you don't have. Because when you're thankful for your spouse and your kids, and that you have a shelter, and that you at least have a car that sometimes maybe turns on, maybe sometimes don't, but it turns on most of the time, you know, there's a lot of things that we can be content about. And this is the thing that I have to remind myself all the time in the business world. And, you know, there's so many secular coaches in my space that are not believers. And there's always the next money plateau. Like there's always the break 6 figures in a year. Oh, break 6 figures in a month. Break 6 figures in a day. That'd be wild. But, you know, there's always more and more and more chasing after money goals. Hustle hard, hustle hard, hustle hard. And what does the Bible say? The Bible says, no. You got to make sure you rest. You got to make sure you take that Sabbath. You got to make sure that you are able to not put yourself in a place where you literally destroying everything you got because of what you want.
Yeah. So basically what we're saying is don't focus on what you don't have, focus on what you do have and be thankful.
Because you can end up losing it. And I think that's what happens with envy is it's, you know, envy is the old adage of, you know, the grass is always greener on the other side.
Because it's right over the septic tank.
But in reality, you just got to water your own grass. You know what I mean? Like you could, and this is where I think we have to make sure we draw the line between, it's not bad to look at somebody and be like, you know, I want that. Like I see their marriage and I want a marriage like that because that's awesome. You know, the kids are doing great. They love each other. They're worshiping God. I want a marriage like that.
But remember, you're only seeing a snidbit of time with that.
No. I'm saying it in a good way. Like we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, so let's push on.
But just think about it, right? Just think about it. You see them for a short period of their life, right? I see you and Beth for a very short period in the grand scheme of things, right? I see Scott and Laura in a short picture window of a very big scheme of life. So you could go, oh, I want that person. But how do you know their marriage isn't terrible outside of what you see?
In the hidden part.
Right. So don't always compare yourself is what I'm saying, because that's where the comparison is where you can start falling into envy. Don't compare. You don't need to compare. You can be like, I desire to have a good marriage. I desire to have a good family, foundational Christian household, right? I desire these things. But just remember that person that you're looking at next to you may have the same struggles or different struggles or more intense struggles than what you're having now. You don't know. And so don't look at somebody and compare yourself. Look to the Lord, right? Look to God and say, God, these are my desires. Lay them before his feet. Yep. And give it to him. And then rely on him, and then do your part and stay away from those things.
And that's what I want to make sure we end on is, and make sure you do your part. Surround yourself with good friends who will encourage you in the fruit of the Spirit. Right. Like, you know, if you see someone, buddies, if you see those people where it's like, if you want to learn how to start sharing your faith with people, hang out with people that share their faith. Right. You know, if you want to be somebody who loves really well or forgives really well, or, you know, just studies the scripture really well, you can look at them. Oh man, I'd love to be like those dudes. I'd love to be like them, those ladies where they just seem to love Jesus and all these things. Well, go surround yourself with them, you know, and the fact of who you surround yourself most, you can end up becoming most like. So if you're surrounding yourselves, you know, I don't want to go too deep in this conversation, the whole unequally yoked conversation with spouses or dating or even friendships of, if you surround yourself with people that are always wanting the next thing, always envious of these people, always pulling the mean girl stunts, always pulling the this, pulling the that, trying to hustle and grind, do all these things, try to, legit like hop on every single bit and Dogecoin that ever is out there just to try to make more money, make more muscle, do more hustle, do more grind. You got to get up at 5 a.m. and start working until midnight. It's like, is that the life you want to live? Well, if you surround yourself with those people, chances are you may end up falling into that trap. And so for us, that's where it talks about, keep your eyes focused on Jesus, be a part of a body that wants to encourage us to walk together in love and in unity and in kindness, encourage one another in the fruit of the Spirit. But we also have to choose to not just say, oh man, I'm just an envious person. It's just kind of how I'm wired, man. It's like,
I'm a 3-wing too.
I'm a 3-wing. I'm a 3-wing too, boss. I just naturally get envy. Now, I know my personal bent is to get envious, so I need to be self-aware enough to know, like, oh, you know what? I struggle with this, and so maybe I shouldn't do that. Yep. So I need to choose to stay away because, I could walk into a bar and not drink and be fine.
Set up the safeguards.
But friends of mine and friends of ours who are recovering alcoholics, why would they put themselves in that situation? Right. Why would they put themselves in that scenario? Right. And so it's one of those things where if we keep our eyes focused on Jesus, surround ourselves with people who want to encourage us in this regards, and then wake up every day, bear our cross, nail it to the cross and say, Jesus, I'm going to live for you. The same idea in the Lord's Prayer where it talks about like your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, which means you're submitting yourself to God's will and what that means for your life rather than what you want for your own kingdom.
Yep.
All right, dude. Any other last thoughts before we land this plane?
I got nothing, my friend.
All right, dude.
Go for it.
So I'm going to read a passage to end this whole episode. All right. So it's a long one. We need to have some nice reading music in season 5 of long Bible verse passages, have some nice little soft serenading music. But I'm going to read the entire chapter of Psalm 37 because it's a beautiful psalm and it's a reminder that I need. So I'm sure other people need it as well. So here we go. Psalm 37, verse 1. Do not be agitated by evildoers. Do not envy those who do wrong, for they wither quickly like grass and wilt like tender green plants. Trust in the Lord. Do what is good. Dwell in the land and live securely. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you your heart's desires. Commit your ways to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will act, making your righteousness shine like the dawn, your justice like the noonday. Be silent before the Lord and wait expectantly for him. Don't be agitated by the one who prospers in his ways, by the person who carries out evil plans. Refrain from anger and give up your rage. Do not be agitated. It could only bring harm, for evildoers will be destroyed. But those who put their hope in the Lord will inherit the land. A little while, and the wicked person will be no more. Though you will look for him, he won't be there. But the humble will inherit the land and will enjoy abundant prosperity. The wicked person schemes against the righteous and gnashes his teeth at him. The Lord laughs at him because he sees that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn the sword and strung the bow, and to bring down the poor and needy and to slaughter those whose way is upright. Their swords will enter into their own hearts and their bows will be broken. The little that the righteous person has is better than the abundance of many wicked people. For the arms of the wicked will be broken, but the Lord supports the righteous. The Lord watches over the blameless all their days, and their inheritance will last forever. They will not be disgraced in times of adversity. They will be satisfied in days of hunger. But the wicked will perish. The Lord's enemies, like the glory of the pastures, will fade away. They will fade away like smoke. The wicked person borrows and doesn't repay, but the righteous one is gracious and giving. Those who are blessed by the Lord will inherit the land, and those cursed by him will be destroyed. A person's steps are established by the Lord, and he takes pleasure in his ways. Though he falls, he won't be overwhelmed because the Lord supports him with his hand. I have been young, and now I'm old, yet I have not seen the righteous abandoned or his children begging for bread. He is always generous, always lending, and his children are a blessing. Turn away from evil, do what is good, and settle permanently. For the Lord loves justice, and he will not abandon his faithful ones. They are kept safe forever, but the children of the wicked will be destroyed. The righteous will inherit the land and dwell in it permanently. The mouths of the righteous utters wisdom. His tongue speaks what is just. The instruction of his God is in his heart. His steps do not falter. The wicked one lies in wait for the righteous and intends to kill him. The Lord will not leave him in the power of the wicked one or allow him to be condemned when he is judged. Wait on the Lord and keep his way, and he will exalt you to inherit the land. You will watch when the wicked are destroyed. I have seen a wicked, violent person, well-rooted like a flourished native tree. Then I passed by and noticed he was gone. I searched for him, but he could not be found. Watch the blameless and observe the upright, for the person of God, the person of peace will have a future, but transgressors will all be eliminated. The future of the wicked will be destroyed. The salvation of righteousness is from the Lord, their refuge in time of distress. The Lord helps and delivers him. He will deliver them from the wicked, and he will save them because they take refuge in him.
Time for Fun Facts with Filler.
Yeah, boss. I lied that was going to be a quick intro. Hour and 20 minutes later, guys. Here we are finally at the fun fact. So, Fuller, let's end this conversation on a fun note, my guy. What you got for us?
Did you know that loofahs are vegetables?
Oh, actually, I did because of Instagram.
If you look at a loofah, you might think it came from a dried sea creature. However, this scrubbing sponge is actually made from a vegetable. Loofahs are made from the fibrous flesh of a mature loofah agapetica, or whatever the heck that is.
Just be confident.
Yeah. And the L gourd.
The L gourd?
Yeah, it's a Cycladrica gourd. They're distant relatives of melons and squash. Before reaching maturity, loofah is also edible.
So if it's a distant relative of a melon, can you like bathe yourself with a watermelon?
I mean, you can try.
Just get a gourd, slice open a
watermelon,
slice open some butternut squash, just rub it over your body.
Some
soap.
Some spaghetti squash.
You know, I do have to say though, loofahs can hold some nasty germs, but at the same time, we got loofahs for the kids finally. Each one has their own color. It has made bath time go so much faster.
Yep, we do the same thing.
Just go like with the little body wash, just go squirt, squirt, squirt. Each one of their things, and then they just loofah themselves up. You hose them down, and you get them out.
They got a fire hose.
I mean,
all right, kids are done.
So we have one of those detachables,
Sure,
shower heads.
Yeah, we do
and
too.
We put it on the center blast, so that's not like this nice big shower. It's like no, like we hose them mugs down.
Spray them like a fire.
It's like when you take them outside after you're nasty, and your mom would just be like hose you off or whatever. But you ain't coming in my house looking all nasty like that. You just send them off. Like I don't know how to transition out of this.
Well,
anyways, transition us,
guys. We appreciate you being here with us today for another episode 207.
Dang,
the 7 deadly sins. We appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in each week to listen to us. If you haven't already joined the Facebook group, head on over there right now and join us with the chat. I guess not really the chat, but join
discussions.
Join the conversations. Come in. Don't suck. Basically, right?
don't make the Facebook group suck, guys. Don't make
the group suck.
And I do have to say, there's so many of you guys there, and we know your faces because your profile pictures, and it's really confusing when you guys change them. Let's just be honest here. And there's so many amazing people over there. Like we got Jim, we got John. I know we got David. I know we got Liz. I know we got Sabrina's. Yeah, Sabrina, not Sabrina's.
Peter, James, John, Andrew, Matthew,
Jesus? I don't know. There's so many amazing people in that Facebook group. So make sure you join over there to keep the conversations going. We're on all the other social media channels and YouTube. And make sure you don't forget to subscribe because you never know when we may just show up randomly live inside of our Facebook group or even on YouTube.
That's right.
We love you guys. Leave those reviews anywhere you can. But until next time,
take it easy.